Welcome back to another episode of the Lightdrop podcast, where it's just two friends, two homies back at it again,
And yes,
talking about creativity and beyond. My name's Jamil.
and my name is Jeff.
How you been,
What's
man?
up?
We back.
We back, man. The streets been hungry. That's all we
They've
know.
been hungry. They've been waiting
Yeah.
for the
So
comeback.
nah, man, I've been good. I've been obviously reflecting on every single thing that we talked about from our earlier podcast episodes. Something that's been on my mind recently is multitasking, and I know we talked about it a lot. And it feels like I'm multitasking because I keep thinking about it. So
Wait, so you're multitasking Inception?
yeah,
Like you're multitasking, and then you're thinking about multitasking.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not thinking about this so much. So yeah, I mean that I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about how can I reduce the number of things that I'm thinking about constantly, and it's been an adventure because it's constantly asking myself why I almost fall into the trap of just doing it. So putting in systems to make sure that I don't multitask because I have what I'm supposed to do in front of me, or I've constantly written it down or something. So
We talked about we've talked about so much stuff uh, in the last, because we have 25 episodes. Our 1 year podcast anniversary. We were just talking about it'll be like a month from today almost, and we talked about a whole bunch of things: imposter syndrome, uh, how to get quiet, to quiet your mind, to find creativity, how to step away. Like we make comparisons to like being an athlete with creativity, and like how to navigate that with work and multitasking, like you said. And then
hmm
I laugh at myself because we talk about all these things, and then we took this break. Our last episode was what, June, I think.
yeah, with
Took this
Ali.
break, and like over the summer, I'm just like, yo, I'm doing all the stuff that we talked about, that
Mm-hmm.
we talked about we need to not do. And I'm like,
To
man,
not do.
look at
It's
me.
hard.
It
It's
is.
hard. It's hard to
It's hard.
break a habit, but you charge on almost. I don't know. I don't know if that was not. Maybe that wasn't the right thing to say, but you march on whatever you got to do.
You
Wake up,
move
try again,
forward. You
move
hop back on
forward.
the podcast and remind yourself.
What did we talk about?
Yeah. But honestly, I feel like that's like what I'm looking forward to the most is diving into a lot of the stuff we talked about again, like even deeper.
hmm
Now that it's been some time to since we reflected on like bringing attention to it, kind of being conscious of it, and then going back and trying to do something about it. Like I feel like all of these things we talked about are topics that we can revisit with new perspectives
Exactly.
as new and improved people,
Versions.
artists,
Yeah, man.
persons.
So, of course, we always, if anybody's listening right now, we have some stuff. I have some stuff that I'd love to share with you, Jamil.
Yeah, hit me.
And okay, so speaking of just doing less things, doing um, less multitasking. So I've been reading this book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the thing that struck me first about this book is literally, it's like, the cover is white and the typography on it is just like very bold. So I was like, oh my God, this is such a great cover. I'm hooked already. So Gary Keller, just to give you a little bit of background on him, he's the founder of Keller Williams real estate franchise in the United States. It's like the largest one in the United States. And I would count him as the definition of locked in. So this man moved to Austin in 1979, And in 5 months, he sold 5 houses. In 5 years, he became VP of his company. And he was obviously growing. He was doing a bunch of stuff. And then he had a meeting with like a business coach or something. And the coach was like, you got to do less things, or you got to do something else, change something else. So he was able to do that, and he gained a bunch of wisdom from that. And obviously his company is huge. So the book starts off with sort of telling that story, but the premise of it is just one question, which is, what is one thing you can do that will make your life easier? And that's it. It's like, and then you just do everything else. Everything that you do has to connect to that, from what you're doing in a day, a year, a week, even right now. What is the one thing that you want to do someday? So, just a couple of insights from that book that I was like, wow, it really makes sense to do less, because then you can do more of something. And that's such a like a simple idea, but I loved how Gary put it in the book, and he obviously cites a bunch of examples. But what he was basically trying to get at was that like success is a sequence of success. So sometimes, the only thing that you need to do for the day is just,
Yeah.
that small bit of whatever it is that you want to do eventually. So tell
Yeah.
me about your thoughts on that so far.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that hits me because lately I've been finding that it's like you think it'd be easy to just do less,
Mm-hmm.
but you get so much momentum of trying to make so many different things happen. Whether it's like you're working and then like your weekends and you want to manage your personal projects or your personal life or your personal hobbies, and you got work on Monday through Friday, and then you want to travel. It's like all these different things that everybody wants to kind of do, and it doesn't feel like there's enough hours in the day.
Absolutely.
But then you get you get swept up in that, and you realize you're like, wait a minute, like the whole point of me wanting to do any of this is because I just want to feel like at ease and like I just want to chill.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all I want to do. And so you say, okay, well then I just need to do that. Like let me just chill and like do less. But it's actually it takes so much. I think the word is trust. It takes a lot of trust in that being the right move to make, to do less, to do more. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like not a lot of people trust that will work, and so they don't even allow themselves to stop or slow down because it's like, oh, I'm gonna miss out or nothing's gonna get done because I'm taking a step back or I'm slowing down. But I actually I actually was really really conscious of that the last several weeks. I had a little bit of I had like a lot of downtime a couple weeks ago where I was like, okay, I'm deliberately going to take my mind off of all the other stuff that I've been like all my to-do lists and everything. Like what do I need to do, like actually need to do? The answer was like not much, right? When I actually was being honest about myself and looking at my list, like I don't have to do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like let me not, and let me deliberately just do nothing or do something else, take my mind off of something, off of things. And it was it's not easy. Like that momentum, that that momentum of doing is tough to slow down when you just want to chill and relax. And so yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, that's good insight and from the standpoint of coming from someone like his name was Gary Keller.
Gary Keller. Yeah.
Gary Keller. Yeah, coming from someone like him who who's done a lot and has
Mm-hmm.
accomplished a lot, right? Hearing it from them, I always like when people in those kind of positions share that kind of wisdom because it's like just slow down. Like it works. It
Exactly.
does. It might.
Simpler way of doing things tend to work. It reminded me of this quote that I read. Charlie Munger. I don't know if you heard about him. He's like this. He passed away, but he was Warren Buffett's right hand man. Always with him. I think he was actually smarter. That's what Warren Buffett says. Smarter than him, but he had a very simple way of like doing things. And one of my favorite quotes from him is that it's like find something boring and take it seriously. And when you give yourself time to be bored, then you can take something seriously because you kind of lock into that thing. So just a overall great book, a lot of great insights. I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm kind of like halfway through it. He's going through like a bunch of examples, but I'd be happy to revisit it because it made me think about how we think about ourselves as artists. It's like we're taught that we need to know all the programs, we need to know what to charge for every single thing. If you're starting off as a freelancer, do everything that you can, especially on my side for design. It's like, you need to know how to make a website, you need to know how to make print stuff. And then when you're advertising yourself as a freelancer, say that you do everything so that you can get paid. But
Yeah.
obviously, you and I are big fans of our boy Chris Doe, and he had he had a video where he was talking about like charging people and what is the difference between working faster. What's the incentive there besides just being good at what you do? Because then you charge what you want because you can kind of guarantee results. So that comes from being a specialist in something, and that comes from reducing what you do as an artist and just focusing in and locking in. So yeah, just a great book. I'd recommend to everyone to check out. Definitely, Jamil, check it out if you have a chance.
I like. Well, okay. So two questions. First question: what have you found that's boring? What's the boring thing that you found that you're trying to lock into? Have you tried
Uh,
that? Have you experimented with that?
yeah. So I've been trying to find things that are outside, just that's happening in real life right now that I find interesting. So I actually brought one of the things that I found to this presentation because
Uh oh. Wait a minute.
so
This isn't planned, by the way.
this is not
This
planned.
this wasn't planned. I didn't know that. I, he's holding some kind of rock right
This
now.
is a
I
rock.
didn't
If
know
you
anything
cannot,
about this. Wait a
this
minute.
is
Hold on. Hold on. You wait. I actually asked. Hold on. Okay, so backtrack. I
okay.
just asked Jeff if he's found something boring that he's been able to lock into based off of the insights from the Gary Keller book, and he pulls out what looks like a rock.
It's a rock.
Has to be okay. 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 Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so viewers, if you're seeing this, this is a rock that I found when I went to a coffee shop like 2 days ago, and I've been obsessed about it. I've been like holding it. Uh, I thought that it was like like
Red. It
dark
almost
gin.
looks like
I was like, there's no way this is perfectly lumped. Like it looks like a mouse, yo. Like, look at this. Like how does that happen? How come no one else picked it up? I saw this and I was like, this is amazing. So I had to take it for myself. So I've just been holding it. I think I'm gonna sand it down. This obviously there's no reward for this except for my own. I've been trying to find stuff like this that are boring that I can just have and add to my repertoire of just interesting things. So that's
bro.
one thing, right? Another thing, another thing that I found. So the other day, I was making eggs. I cracked the egg, and then the crack looked like some lips. I wish I took a no, I did take a picture of it actually. Um, but that's amazing.
Where's
Like,
show me?
huh?
Show me.
I can't show you now.
Oh,
I'll show you after. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I took a picture of it, but that's
just
the
the
stuff
most
that I've just been. I think
inspired by.
I think yeah, I'm inspired by that because I'm like life is so interesting, and it's sometimes it's just a good reminder for myself to remember that like there are more interesting things than the small things that we tend to focus on. Like, oh, let me binge watch 100 episodes of a show. But there was like a frog outside, a baby frog that was blending into the grass, and I was able to pick it up, and I looked at it for like a few seconds, and I was like, wow, this
Picked it up. You
is.
actually picked it up.
No, no, I didn't pick it up. I just looked at it. No, no, I'm black, bro. Come on. But just
Yo,
stuff like that.
okay. So I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
that you put in that you're practicing what you're preaching. That's good work.
yeah.
That's good
I'm
work.
trying,
The
man.
most we'll have to like maybe over the course of the next couple months I'll keep checking in on what else you've collected, other like interesting or boring
Mhm.
things that you lock
Yes.
into. That's actually no, in all seriousness, that's a good exercise. Is like to be able to just to say, okay, I'm gonna be on the lookout for stuff like that today. You know,
Hmm.
like as you're taking a walk or as you're driving, like I'll give another example. There's this rug like in my bathroom, like a bath mat. And you know the ones
Hmm.
that are like they're like super high pile and stuff, but they're kind of like curly a little bit,
The ones that look
like
like
the
those
bath
dogs.
mat.
Yeah,
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 it's like a big fluffy bath mat. And then like as you step on it and stuff, it gets kind of matted down in certain areas and like it's still poofy in other areas. And then you get out the shower and it's like a little wet in like other areas and stuff like that.
yeah. Hmm.
So sometimes when I walk
Hmm.
past the bath mat, I'll look at it and I'll see like shapes. I'll be like, oh, that kind of looks like a dog, like holding a
Hmm.
holding a pizza or something like that. Or like I'll just see stuff in the rug. I'm like the rug visionary whisperer or whatever. Like how
Yeah.
that game where you sit on the grass and look at the clouds, and say, oh, that cloud looks like a you know T Rex or something like that.
Hmm.
But no, that's a good exercise because it's like if you can take a step back to where you're noticing that kind of stuff, that's a good first step to slowing down
Exactly.
and just taking your mind off of like, oh, I gotta do in order to make something happen. And now your mindset is more so I gotta like pull back, I gotta pull back to
Yeah.
actually make more things happen. So
To
yeah,
see
that's
to add the to give yourself the the space to appreciate the simple things. So it's been nice to do that with little bits things in there, and it's I think what I try to remind myself is that today I'm either going to see something that interests me or I'm going to ignore it. So it's like
yeah.
be on the lookout because it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
cuz uh
it's out there.
that's deep. Yeah.
So something else I want to talk about before we kind of because I want to know what's going on your end, but I'd love to talk about this one quote that I heard and it's just been stuck with me for the past few weeks. So, do you watch a show called Shogun?
I need to. I
Hulu?
haven't
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet, but I
it's
want
so
to.
good. Yeah, so Shogun for all of you all who are listening, it's this show about like Japanese samurai, and it's really well done, and it's got like really great ratings. But if you are someone who loves production design, authentic stories, action. I mean, it's got everything. It's got like almost like a love story happening. It's all based on a real story too. Definitely check it out. But what I want to talk about that show. So one of the characters has this poem that she gives out. So the poem is flowers are only flowers because they fall, but thankfully the wind. And I just thought it was such a beautiful poem that just sticks with you because it just reminds you that part of experiencing beauty is just realizing that it's going to end, but it's also like a good thing because then you actually get to appreciate it. So it just allow more beautiful things in your life. I think that's what the the poem was trying to say because it's kind of temporary.
Yeah, and yeah, and it's almost it's almost humbling, or like maybe humbling is not the right word. It's kind of maybe like it almost puts us in our place, right? To where it's like, why am I so strung out over what I'm strung out about? Um, I woke up in a comfortable bed this morning. I mean, obviously we could go in and count all of the things that are going right for us, but
Yeah,
we all have this tendency to to just focus on what's not and figure out how we can like dive deeper into that thing to try and fix it and make it better. And you know um there's this like there's this magical city um where there's a whole bunch of diverse people, like, from all over the world. They come together with big dreams. And there's in this city there's this system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the city. It's um it's full of people who are trying to travel with different stories. And it's got these buildings that are like some of the most beautiful buildings. They're tall, some of them are short. um the noises, like the sounds, everything is so exciting and energizing. um you know is one way to look at New York City. And the other way is to pay attention to the manholes that explode, and like the things
yeah,
that smell, and like all of the other stuff. It's like um you can really also make good progress in slowing down your own internal noise and whatever may be actually tripping you up for making progress, especially again around creative progress. Because like if you're a creative person, that muscle needs to be used, unless or else you'll it'll get weak. And the thing about creativity is, many of us are gifted with painting skills or writing skills or drawing skills, and we can use that as an outlet for our creativity. But you can still use your creativity for the other side of things, problem solving and figuring things out, and
yeah,
trying to do mental gymnastics to figure out how you're going to have enough time to do this. And then you get stressed. And so all that to say, like, it's important to, as a creative, to use your creativity, to have space, to give yourself the space to use that creativity on creative things. um, because that's the point. That's the whole point.
hmm
You're doing anything. So um, yeah, I think that honestly kind of takes me into what I wanted to bring up to you.
yeah. Hit me.
We always have like these little things that we come across, Jeff and I, where especially since we started the podcast, where I'll be like, yo, I gotta send this to Jeff. I gotta
Yeah,
see what he thinks,
yeah.
get his insights. It's this video. For anyone who's unfamiliar, I'm sure many people probably are, um, of a gentleman named Hector Rodriguez. He goes by Hex. He's the CEO, founder of Optic Gaming, which is an esports organization. They've been around for many, many, many years. primarily in uh, console video game space, like games like Call of Duty and Halo and Tekken, things like this. Um, and I've been following them for years, and seeing how he's grown that organization to be something that's very much a focal point of that industry, the esports industry. But at the same time, Hex himself, he's an artist. He's like a graffiti artist, and so a lot of what he does comes from that kind of inspiration. You can kind of see it in when he does vlogs or some of the content that his organization will put out. It's very like it's very there's an art to everything, right?
Mm.
That comes out of that company. And there's a video that I saw recently of him talking about the first time he had an opportunity to essentially sell like his position in the company. He didn't exit, and he was kind of reflecting on whether or not he regretted it. And time would go on, he would be able to buy some of his company back, and he was able to invest in like the next phase of his company, and it's really starting to turn into, again, if you're not familiar with it at all, just go to YouTube, search Optic Gaming, look at all of their content. It's very art driven, right? It's like you can tell that everybody who's involved is like an artist to a certain degree, and he kind of put this emphasis in this video clip I'm referencing. He put this emphasis on um, not letting just the business side of things, the mundane, the growth. I have to get more whatever your business needs, subscribers or clients or whatever. Putting that before the art, you know.
Mm.
Um, as an artist who's trying to get into business, it's uh, if you put that before your art, it's just not gonna work. You're not
Yeah,
gonna, you're
it's a
not gonna
losing
be able to
game.
make that Yeah, you're not
It's a
gonna be
losing
able to
game.
make that progress. And so it's just interesting because when we think about business, we think about a business or even like a studio. It's like, oh, it's a business at the end of the day, right? We all kind of understand that, but I think that we just assume that it has to come first, you
Hmm.
know? But I think that there's real, like, there's a real tangible difference to a business that's operating as an art. Like, the business in and of itself is a work of art, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and so, as a creative professional who works in a creative industry, that just resonates with me because so often I'll make a decision based on like, oh, like this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is the way I'm supposed to go about doing this thing. But I'll do it, and it'll be a very like uh, a very like roundabout way. Like, oh, I gotta like you know send emails, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, like all this shit that I don't want to do,
Yeah.
right? And then while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about, dang, I really want to be writing, or I really want to be recording something or composing something. Um, and now I'm starting to get more and more into like, okay, how can I use that to like grow instead of all of these things that many people will give their advice to say, oh, that's not going to help, right?
Hmm.
Composing music, how is that going to help you like do this or this? How making videos, like you need to be you need to be getting clients, you need to be doing blah blah blah, blah,
Yeah.
right? It's like it just it just doesn't hit with me, and so yeah, so that clip, all to say is like hearing Hex say that, what he said. He's someone who I really admire, like the way he's gone about building his business. So it's just, just like you said with Gary Keller, like hearing people in those positions put emphasis on, like, no, like focusing on the art is where it's at, focusing on pulling back and relaxing and, you know, taking things off of your plate is the way to go.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's not, I always try to remind myself that creating is not supposed to be exhausting. It's not supposed
yeah,
to be this process where at the end of the week, like, I don't want to do anything else. I haven't eaten. Like, you can't make beautiful things that way. And um, when you talk about like the process of it, it kind of, and even the Hex, is he still CEO or is he still?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, the Hex CEO. Um, it kind of makes me think about my work as a designer and how important it is that I'm allowed to continue to still create art. If I'm in a place where if I'm working at a job that I don't have the free time to do any other creative stuff, then it's a losing game. Just like the Hex CEO was saying, it's like eventually if you're an artist and you don't get to create art in a way that makes you happy, then it's like eventually you're gonna hate doing it. So something's gotta change, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all so simple again, and that's what I'm finding is like we have these conversations through this podcast. Anybody who's been listening to these podcasts, first of all, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate hearing you guys. You know, leave your comments and let us know how you're liking it and stuff. But just from having these conversations when we started this, it's like it all seems so obvious when we talk about it, and then
Hmm.
we go back off the podcast and go back into things, and then I'm right back into multitasking. I'm right back into you know monkey mind, and it's like it's tough, but it's like it always helps to hear people in those positions that you like admire and kind of see as like, oh, they did the thing. What is the thing even,
Hmm.
as we look at people like Hex and Gary Keller who have achieved so much, right? It's like I think we even talked about that before. It's like we don't know how well they sleep at night.
Yeah.
you know like what matters to you, um at the simplest level, and how can you get yourself to that point so that you can have the space, the mental space to actually do what you love.
Exactly. Yeah. And enjoy it. Enjoy it in the
Hmm.
process. Yeah. So, talk to me about because I know you showed me another video, and I watched that video by oh man, I forgot his name. RD something.
Oh, you're talking
Imagine.
about the short film,
Yeah, the short film. So
the
like
short film that RDC World made. Oh,
RDC World. Yeah. So
RD,
okay. So I wanted to ask you on two things. Obviously, from just like a viewer level, when you're just keeping up with the story, how did you like it? And then two, from a VFX standpoint, how how impressed were you with what they were able to do? I don't know if they had like professional VFX artists or they just had somebody who was really good at VFX.
yeah,
But either way, it was impressive. So just tell me what you think on those two
yeah.
ends.
So the video Jeff is talking about is RDC World One. If you don't know who they are, they're YouTubers, content creators. They've been around for quite some time now. Big following. They do like comedy, little short comedy skits, and a lot of their interests are in like anime, comic books and stuff like that. So a lot of their videos, and their skits and stuff are like spoofs of like different animes and things like that. And so
Yeah.
um, they made this short film that they released, I think like 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, called Imagine That, and it's really good. It's like it's got a nice little story, nice little plot. and they have some action sequences in there where they are, you could essentially think of it. I saw it as like a live action anime. Like it very
Hmm.
much looked like that was what they were going for, was this live action anime. And so with that came some like visual effects that they had. They would have like glowing eyes and explosions and like particle effects and just stuff like that to like emphasize the sci-fi kind of nature of
Hmm.
the film. Again, check it out if you haven't. It's called
Yeah.
Imagine
Good.
That by RDC World on YouTube. And when I saw it, what excited me the most about it was like I was instantly able to see the future of where I think the visual effects industry is headed, because I think long gone are the days where we have kids growing up, like how we grew up,
Hmm.
wanting to work for Disney and Pixar and make other people's movies, vis effects and stuff like that. I think that people growing up now, they all want to be YouTubers, they all want to be content creators, and so we're reaching a point where the talent pool that is responsible for crazy video effects movies,
Hmm.
Avatar, recently like Dune, Pixar movies, Disney movies, right? Like that talent pool was reserved for the big studios with those budgets. And so I think that there's been this huge disconnect between just the average like audience member who's watching these films. Like they kind of forget that there's actually artists that are behind what they're seeing. They kind of look at it and say like, "Oh, that's Disney that made that." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And there's like this disconnect of no, it's actually an artist. Like there's thousands of artists out there with this huge technical ability combined with artistry that's able to make that kind of stuff. And so I think that as the tools, as AI advances and a lot of the tools that VFX artists use become easier and easier to use, and you need smaller and smaller teams to make really, really, really good quality VFX. I think that the talent pool that was limited to just big budget films is now going to slowly become available to content creators like RDC World, other YouTubers who want to add VFX to their films. And they still have budgets, right? Like RDC World is,
Yeah.
that video had like what, like 10 million views in like in like a
Uh,
week,
yeah.
So it's like, Mr. Beast, like stuff like, these big YouTubers have a little budget for VFX if they want some. And I think that it's just cool to see them actually make a film with a plot that has some VFX in it, to where it's like, okay, I can see how, um, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now, that's where, a freelance lighting artist will get booked. will be
Yeah.
by will be by this YouTuber, you know what I mean, or this content creator to help them make, they put together a little team, you know what I mean, to help them make some VFX or even like a full CG short, with their script. They have an idea for it. They got the voiceovers and stuff. They just need somebody to animate it.
Hmm.
Now it's like it's gonna be much easier for someone to go on and say like, and I got this idea for an animation that looks same quality as some Disney shit, but you know, let me go and get some VFX artists for my film. Like big, a big YouTuber like that knows that I'm gonna get 8 million views in a week.
That's
like,
interesting, Jamil,
you
because
know,
you know, I wonder if there's a place where people can find those types of artists. A platform somewhere where, like, because it sounds like what's happening is that now that there's like, content creators, there's going to be this need of VFX artists. So that conversation needs to be had a little bit more smoothly because it's like, how do we even find these artists? Where do we go? How do we build these connections with them? I wish, I wish somebody had made a place like this. Do you know of a place like this, Jamil?
That's a good plug. That's a good plug, Jeff. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. The place called listen, lightwork.com,
No.
lightworq.com is a platform where you can go on. You can build up your portfolio, interact with other artists, um, get exposure that way. So yeah, I think that that's cool. By the way, that wasn't planned. Anybody listening, that was a nice little segue Jeff dropped in.
You gotta start telling them. We just gotta act like we're all smooth, like butter.
Act like we were smooth with it.
Just
A little shameless self promotion,
shameless
but no,
plug.
that's a there. You know, check it out. Lightwork.com. Lightworq. Um,
And I'd also
will
like
one day, maybe one day RDC World will be able to go on there and book a couple artists for a YouTube video.
RDC World. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Listeners, if you've gotten any insights from what we've talked about, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Leave comments. We read these comments. It's just Jamil and I. We look at the subscribe list, and it keeps us going. So make sure you subscribe if this content is if you're getting
Hitting.
any insights from this. Yeah, if it's hitting, that's
It's
the word.
hitting.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
so
Um,
we're gonna I guess kind of wind down, but I'd still like to hear what you've been up to because I've talked about my eggs and my rocks. uh, when we first talked this morning, you were going for a walk. How'd that go? Like you walk a lot,
mm,
so which is I'm like,
I've
damn, I need
I've
to start
been
walking.
trying to get back into it. I fell off. There was like a period of, and to be fair, it was because where I live, like in the summertime, it's just too hot. Like, it's it was like every day, 80% humidity, feels like 105. Like,
In Virginia, it's that hot?
yeah,
Or
in the
dang.
summertime, it gets like that, and it's like I won't go outside for like there was like a period of time where I didn't go outside for like a week, and I was like,
Hmm.
dang, I need to get outside. But then I remember I was like, actually, it was like actually impossible. Like I would have passed out
Yeah. You
if I
gotta go
went
with
for a
an
walk.
umbrella or something.
So now I've just been getting back. Now that the weather's cooling off, I'm making sure that I follow our advice, get out, touch some grass,
Hmm.
um, go for walks, and you know, try and uh, try and get back into shape where I feel like I'm not just a stiff computer person all the time, you know?
Yeah. I've been I've been trying to do more push-ups. Just that's it. Let me just do a push-up or two a day just because I'm the same way. I feel like it's for the last 2 3 months work has just ramped up, so I haven't been going outside, and like now my body's stiff, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not
Yeah.
as strong as I used to be a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I feel that, man, because I've been feeling stiff. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
It affects everything. And actually that's a good like one last thing that made me think of like that kind of ties into what we were talking about with like earlier. There's a there's someone who just beat the world record for the most pull-ups, chin-ups, pull-ups
Hmm.
in 24 hours. I think they did like 9,000, I want to say, something
Oh,
like that in 24 hours. But the strategy for it, which is what's interesting is like you think about doing push-ups or pull-ups rather, to break a record. Like what's the first like just visually when I think of that, I just think of somebody just trying to crank them out like as
yeah.
many as they can, and they got to get strong to do that. But the strategy that he did was like it was like he just kind of calculated how many he wanted to hit, and then it's like how many is that per minute, and it can it's only like over the course of 24 hours, it's like 4 5 per minute, you know,
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he'd jump, so he'd jump up, he'd, do two pull-ups and then sit down, rest, 30 seconds. And then, two pull-ups. And so it's like when you think about like, oh, this person did 9,000 pull-ups, 24 hours, but it's just like just two at a time, two at a time, two at a time. Like it simplifies it, and it makes it feel much more like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's that's uh that's attainable. That's much easier on my body, easier on my mind to train
Right.
in that way, And so,
Hmm.
it just made me think, how can we kind of apply that to all the stuff that we try and pack into one day? How much can
Yeah.
I do in one day?
One day.
you know.
It's a lot. Yeah. Um, I definitely encourage the listeners to check out that book I mentioned earlier, The One Thing, or even don't even read it. Do one less thing by not reading it. But just if the one thing you listen to is this episode on it, uh, that might just be enough to get you to recenter yourself. But uh, I definitely encourage doing less. It's always like we always try and remind each other, Jamil, you and I, to do less. So, oh yeah, you just dropped the link. If you're listening, if you're listening, Jamil has just dropped a hot link in the chat to lightwork.com.
That's a
But
good
yeah,
that's a
any
good way to
closing
round it out,
thoughts,
Jeff.
Jamil? What's
I'm
up?
gonna take your advice. I'm gonna not read the book.
No, don't read the
No, no,
book.
no. I might check it. No, seriously, I might check it out. I always check out your book recommendations, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
check it
even
out.
I feel like even reading half of it is I'm trying to
Good
read more
place to
books this
start.
year, and I think if you read 10 pages every day, you'll most likely finish a book every month because most books are what, like 200, maybe 300 pages, which is a lot. Um, but if you can do that, you can finish 12 books in a year and you're like up. So, my partner's been reading through like I think she finishes a book like a week. So I'm trying to catch up so she doesn't think I'm illiterate. So she's like, I never see you reading. Like I'm learning how to do it. Um,
At
so
least it'll,
definitely,
at the very least, you can come back each week with something new for me to check out.
yeah. So the listeners and my wife will know that I can read. So looking forward to those episodes. Um, yeah, man. This has been another insightful episode. This is our first live, which is super interesting. And you also reminded me earlier that it's been a year since we've started this podcast. We started like last year in November, and we're still going strong. So this is the one thing that we've been doing.
Yep, the one thing, the one thing with our priority week to week. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah, man, is that
That's the pod.
that's the pod?
That's the pod, y'all.
That's the pod. Come back with
Peace.
with some more rocks next week. Yeah.
Gotcha.